We would like to welcome you in the name of Jesus. It is a Sunday. This is this Sunday service. We are looking at the sowing enemy. The passage is Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 to 30. And it says, another parable he put before them, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. While men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore again, then the weeds appeared also. The servants of the household came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then has it weeds? He said to them, an enemy has done this. And the servant said to him, then do you want us to go and gather them? And he said, no, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both go together until the harvest. That harvest time I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. That's the parable that we are looking at today. It's the sowing enemy. The first verse 25 has five important things that I would like us to look at. Verse 24 has five very interesting things that I would like to look at briefly. And number one, it says that what we are dealing with here is a parable. It's a parable. Number one is a parable. We all know that Jesus taught many times in parables, and his reasons was to make sure that people can understand complex things through simple similes or through examples that are actually in practical life. That's why Jesus used parables. He didn't use parables to confuse anyone. He used parables to help people understand complex matters. So that is the use of a parable. So the parable is not there to conceal anything, but it's there to reveal better what is more complex to those who are willing to understand. So it is an allegorical approach of teaching. So that's why he says the kingdom of heaven, and I think that is the second thing that we need to understand in verse 24. The kingdom. So this parable is about the kingdom. It's not about any other thing. It's about the kingdom. So we are discussing kingdom business. That's what we are discussing. We are not discussing how to live here. We are discussing how to get there. That's what we are looking at. So that's number two. Number three, verse 24 again says that there was a sowing. They are sowing. A man sowed good seed in his field. So there was a sowing. There was a sowing. That's the text is about sowing. So number one, it's a parable. It's about the kingdom, and it's on sowing. All right, it's on sowing. What are we sowing? We are sowing a seed. We are sowing a seed. That's number four. Where are we sowing this seed? In a field or in a garden, if you wish to know. We're sowing it in a field. So five things: a parable, a kingdom, okay, the sowing, the seed, and the field. That's what we're looking at. Very interesting things. So the parable, the sowing, the seed, and the field are illustrations to demonstrate the message of the kingdom. It says the kingdom of heaven is compared to a man sowing good seed. It's the kingdom of heaven that we're talking about, and that's where we're going to actually restrict ourselves. Now, there's something very interesting also in verse 25 that I'd like us to look at. But while men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. While men were sleeping, his enemy came and yes, and sowed weeds and went away. Now, in verse 24, we are told that a man sowed good seed. Okay? In verse 25, we are told, while men were sleeping. Is anyone following? This is very important to follow. In verse 24, we are told a man singular. In verse 25, we are told while men were sleeping, plural. Okay? So, is the man in verse 24 who sowed the good seed the one sleeping in 25 after sowing the good seed?
He is a man and qualifies to be part of the plural.
But a man sowed. But verse 25 would have said, while this man was sleeping, his enemy came. Because verse 25 says, but while men were sleeping, his enemy came. Now grammatically that sentence has issues. While men were sleeping, their enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. That would make sense.
Yes.
So now let's go back to verse 24. Verse 24 says, a man sowed good seed. Verse 25 says, while men were sleeping, his enemy. Amen.
Tekikola makulu grammatical naye kiyinza okuba kigamba nti mu budde bw'abantu okwebaka nga abantu beebase kiyinza okuba nga verse 25 is talking about time when the weeds were sown.
But you see, you don't say his enemy in the same sentence. Why that? So basically the Bible has something to tell us, and that's what I would like us to look at. Verse 24, a man who sowed good seed in his field while men were sleeping, his enemy, the enemy to who? To the man who sowed the seed. Okay? In other words, the men who were sleeping were not the ones who sowed the seed.
No. And the enemy was not their enemy.
And the enemy was not their enemy. The enemy was to the other man who sowed the seed. And this man was going to be very important as we continue. I would like you to keep that in focus. Well, he came. I hope you've seen that now. Okay. Now there are three things in verse 25 that I would like us to look at. Number one, sleeping. Okay, there's sleeping in verse 25. Number two, there is an enemy in verse 25. Three, there are tares, weeds. There are tares. So those who have an enemy are sleeping. We'll get to that, but where there is an enemy, there is sleeping. Okay? Let's say that the enemy around is not your enemy. But there is sleeping with the knowledge of there is an enemy. Okay? So people sleep even when they know there is enmity looming around. People sleep. Okay. 2, the enemy is faithful and consistent. He doesn't sleep when his enemies are sleeping.
He's not sleeping.
No, he's not sleeping. Now, the enemy does the same thing that the man did.
Somebody know. Bweyebaka asigala enemy.
Yes, he can be a sleeping enemy. Okay? So the enemy does the same thing that his enemy did. The other man, what did the man do? He sowed. When the enemy comes, he does not uproot what the other man sowed. What he does, he also sows.
The same garden.
Yes.
Same ground.
Aye. So while the other man is doing the planting, okay, the enemy is also planting. The enemy is also planting. He's also planting. So there is sowing on the side of the good seed and sowing on the side of the tares. In other words, good seed is sown, tares are also sown.
Same ground.
Same ground, same field. That's why I mentioned the 5 things and the 5th was field. Same field. In other words, the man in verse 24 is God. Amen? The enemy is Satan himself. Because Satan is not the enemy of human beings. No. Satan is an enemy to God. Now, who is an enemy? Who is an enemy? For those of you who think that you have enemies, let me give you a definition of an enemy. An enemy is someone that you have irreconcilable differences.
One.
There is not 2. That is your enemy. An enemy is someone who hates you. Now note, there's a difference between hating someone, okay, and not liking them, or being angry against them. God hates sin, and sin hates God. Satan hates God. God hates Satan. Finished. Those are standard attitudes towards each other. They can't be fixed. There is no any single thing that God does and the enemy is all right with it. In fact, even if God did a bad thing, the enemy wouldn't be in terms with it. That's what we call hatred. So you've heard people say Antichrist. You've heard them say Antichrist. The Pope cannot be Antichrist. The Catholic Pope cannot be Antichrist. Because the Catholic Pope talks good about Jesus, isn't it? An Antichrist does not do the same. Antichrist is Satan himself. Anti-God. So I want you to understand the word that Jesus uses in this parable. The enemy. He didn't say a bad person came. Yes.
There is no second.
Yes.
Buli kintu kisobola okubeera omulabe wo olimiro neŋŋamba nti think no. Katukwese senario ya Uganda wa Museveni tasobola kubeera mulabe waabo bakulembera. Kugamba Museveni tasobola kubeera mulabe waabo abali below him. Ali superior tasobola kubeera omulabe w'oyo alinfiirya. N'alinfiirya tasobola kubeera mulabe w'oyo alinfiirya.
I don't know about that. Kuba gwe obitaddemu ranks, ono munene ono mutono. Tekiri, it's an attitude. Enmity is a standard attitude that cannot change, that cannot be affected by good or bad. That is enmity. So whether you are small and the other one is bigger, whether you are weak and the other one is stronger, that doesn't matter. When you say that you have an enemy, when you say that you have an enemy, you are discussing irreconcilable differences. You cannot be reconciled with so and so. Now, most of the people here that say that have enemies, etc.
Really?
They are not enemies. These are just misunderstandings. You don't like that person, that's all. That's all. I rather die than reconcile with that person. That also is not as irreconcilable as the enmity between God and Satan. This is why Jesus uses the word enemy. He said, the enemy came, his enemy. And who is that man that sowed the good seed? It was God.
So, Msumbo Gaman, even in death,
Yes.
enmity is sigalawo.
Even in death, it is standard, it is there. God has never, is not, will never have anything to do with sin. He doesn't like, he hates. He hates sin. Satan has never, will never have anything to do with God. I've even given an example, the worst, that even if God turned out and did all the bad and the evil that the devil wants, isn't it? Still evil would hate God. Now this is what we mean by enemy. His enemy. His enemy. Now, not what the enemy does when he comes and finds planted seeds. He doesn't uproot them. He doesn't destroy. Are we together? He doesn't. Because if you are the enemy, what do?
I would come and destroy.
You come and destroy. Bring a grader and excavate the entire garden and then flip it upside down because you want the owner to lose, isn't it? This enemy did not do that. Why? He also went into the business of planting.
Why?
Why? Because he's a sowing enemy. That is not how he destroys. The devil is proactive here. He's not reactive.
Oh, if he sowed wheat into the same garden,
yes,
the owner of the garden,
yes,
as he is harvesting, will harvest the wheat and put it into his barn.
Exactly.
And he would have wheat.
This is a sowing enemy. This is not an enemy who destroys. This is not a bombing enemy. This is not Putin attacking Ukraine with missiles. Boom, boom, boom. This is a sleeper cell. Do you know sleeper cells? The sleeper cells are if let's say, I'm giving an example, if Iraq wants to bomb the United States, okay, in 20 years from now, all right, they have to raise the 2 suicide bombers in the United States. From the age of 5, they start training them how to bomb the United States. And these are going to grow as Americans. The sowing enemy. They raise them as Americans. They are raised in the United States. They are citizens, proper citizens. But they are on agenda to bomb the United States. They are planted. They are sown in there. This is the sowing enemy that we are dealing with. We are not dealing with an enemy who attacks. We are not dealing with that kind of attack on Job. You remember the attack on Job? Attacking you with disease, attacking you with the problems. The devil knows all that will come, isn't it? But there must be a structure.
And the attack on Job was a short-lived thing.
Exactly. And there must be a structure. The enemy is sowing tears in our lives. He is sowing tears. In fact, the Greek word for tears is zizanion. Now, zizanion, that word that Jesus used, the tears, he meant like when you grow wheat, okay? The devil was selective in his seeds. And he based on the plant, aka the wheat, isn't it? He went into his store and got something that looks exactly like wheat. But not what?
Not wheat.
Not wheat. He brought that very seed and planted it together with the wheat, so that they can grow. Now, if you are harvesting, everything you see is wheat. But actually it is not wheat. Now, another interesting thing about this is that the harvest is not going to be the same as what it would have been if it were only wheat. Why? Because as these tares grow, they squeeze the wheat. And they take more nutrients. So harvesting becomes very difficult. But if you try to weed when they are still young, you are going to kill everything, because you can't separate the tares from the wheat. And this is why the owner of the garden told the guys that, you know what, there's nothing we can do now. Now, that's where I would like to pause and ask you. We are living in a world, okay, where the devil has systematically planted the tares, and the owner of this world, aka God, has nothing to do but wait. Now, for those who have been asking the question, why doesn't God do away with Satan and kill him and fix this world? Isn't it? Haven't you heard that question? This world, the devil has strategically sown his tares, that even if God wanted to save you, there is no way he can without killing and losing you. Because he's a sowing enemy. He's strategic, he's structural, he's institutional, he's systematic. Every policy that is designed in governments, every decision that is taken in companies, the devil has sown there a tear. Yes. No. Exactly.
Taking over.
Exactly. 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 The seed, those who do agriculture will tell you that the seed, in a seed, okay, there is information of everything you see later in a crop, even at harvest time. All that information is in a seed. So the mango you see was in a seed. The huge tree you see, all that capacity is in a seed. So the devil is in the business of seeds.
Cross-pollination. Pollen wensigo embi wheat. Hajanagwa musigo ennungi. And then there is cross-pollination. Kati noba nensigo ngo erabikanga ennungi nenge erimu.
The devil is in the business of seeds. The devil is in the business of seeds and sowing. He's not now breaking down things. No, he's creating his own. So that by the time you come to deal with Isaiah, Isaiah and the tear are one.
Hey.
That is what the devil is doing. Zizanion. That is the kind of seed that he brought. So that by the time you come to deal with it, you get rid of everything. You get rid of everything. Now, the things like poverty, things like tribalism, things like religion, okay? These things that you see, these are zizanion. These are seeds that were sown. When you look at poverty and wealth, when you look at our world today and you fairly look at it and you see wealth and you see poverty, you are likely to see a systematic intention.
Yes.
Whether you want it or not, okay? Some people will be poor. Poverty is a creation. It is a sown thing. I don't care how much you work. You are going to get to a certain level. Yes, and stay there. The Kololo and Kamocha are not coincidences. These are not failures and success. Because when you look at Kololo and you look at the ghetto in Kamocha, you see these ones have failed, isn't it? These ones have succeeded.
You could be quick to think so.
Yeah, you could. But these are structures. The ghetto is part of the plan. It is part of the seed. It is structured that way. It is structured that way. When an African state finds some oil, okay, it cannot process it. It can't. Do you know why? It can't get to the machines. Then what happens if it looks for money? It can't buy.
Even when they have the money.
Because we can't sell to you. It is us
preserve
to come and process that oil from there. And then you take percentages. It is a structure. It is a seed.
Alternatively, export the crude and we process it this way and return you.
We have to process. It is us. It is a structure. There is an infrastructure of tears that lead to the poverty that you see. And I'm not here to discourage you, but some of you are going to be born poor and die poor because you are within a structure. You are within a pattern. Serving you will mean killing you. It is a structure. It is a structure. Let me give you another example. The tribalism that you see, let me give you an example of the colonial masters in Rwanda. And I've always said these things. Someone please should go and read history and find out whether I'm actually right or wrong. The thing known as Tutsi, you've heard that, the Banyarwanda Tutsi. And then you've heard the Banyarwanda Hutu. Okay? In the originally that is not ethnic.
Tutsi
and Hutu. No. It is an economical thing. Hutu means one who renders service. That is Hutu. The one who renders service. Then Tutsi means the one who pays.
The one who renders the service.
The one who renders the service. So it is an economical thing. Ono ye mugagga, ono ya akolera omugagga. Okay? So it doesn't matter whether you are ono ye mukozi ono gwe bakolera. This is the one they're working for. This is the one who's working for the other. So the Hutu, that is what Hutu means.
Hutu Tutsi.
Hutu Tutsi. That is what it means, really. And a tall with a very pointed nose, Tutsi, who was working for another Hutu. Okay? The Hutu today, that's what I mean. Could be the Hutu.
Yes.
Yes, because it is about service provision, and the workers. When the colonialists came, they sowed a tribalistic seed, and they said that these ones with long noses from today onwards, okay, are the Tutsi. These ones with short nose, okay, are the Hutu. That seed that was sown, okay, got us where we are today. Till today, people are looking at each other based on the size of their nose. That simple seed. So the devil knows that if you just came and killed, that is not enough. Sow a seed that is going to continue from one generation to another.
When you kill, you jeopardize your plan.
Yes. So we are dealing with the sowing enemy. He comes and plants a seed in you that is going to continue from today, from you to the next generation and another generation. The seed. The seed. The seed. Now, you know, there is Ebola. I'm just giving an example. There is Ebola, isn't it? So the devil knows, okay, now I have Ebola here. So how do I get people killed by this virus? You can use religion. So recently in Uganda, a victim of Ebola died. And that person was a Muslim. Isn't it? So the devil knew this way before. And he sowed a religious seed. A religious seed that does not mind a scientific problem. So they buried the victim like they bury an Ebola victim, isn't it? The seed of religion contested science. But you see, the devil is just targeting more death. By his single religious seed, other 5 people died because they were fulfilling a religious law.
How many did they infect?
I think they also infected us.
And they infected even others. Do you see how a sowing enemy works? That's how a sowing enemy works. Now I'm not talking about now the genocides in the Bible, killed the pagans. I'm not talking about those who are not Jews, are dogs. Because of that simple seed. That simple seed. By this sowing enemy. Sowing enemy. As we speak today, sexuality is being taught in schools. Okay? You are a boy, okay, in a girl's body.
A boy trapped in a girl's body.
They are sowing a seed. They are giving your child information so that they grow. As they grow, that seed also grows. That mindset grows with them. It grows. As they grow, it grows. I am a girl trapped in what? In a boy's body. I am not a boy. It's only the body that is the boy. But me, I am. just sowing. Just planting the small thing. And the seed is not always the same size as the plant that it holds, isn't it? The devil knows this. The devil knows this. Now listen to some sowing here, quickly. Genesis chapter 1, chapter 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any other wild creature that the Lord God had made. Now he said to the woman, "Did God say, 'You shall not eat of any tree of the garden'?" What is wrong with the devil stating by saying, "God said that you shall not eat on this forbidden tree," isn't it? But that's not how you sow. When you're going to sow doubt, you bring it in a question form. Did God say that you shall not eat of any tree? But did God say any tree? Quickly, the victim falls for that. And the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but God said, 'You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die.' But the serpent said to the woman, 'You will not die.'" What is the enemy sowing here?
Doubt.
A seed of doubt.
He could have also said,
Yes.
when God said you don't have to eat of these fruits, he lied to you.
Yes.
The truth is you won't die.
But did he say? Did he say someone finds your wife and then asks her, "Where did your husband say he is?" Where did your husband say that he is? And then the wife says,
Narua.
"At work." Hey, okay, at work.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? Okay. But anyway, that's okay. So how are you? How have you been?
Actually, Musumba.
What kind of seed is that?
Newaba nga yakafuluma wali. Nga yakafuluma wali ng'oli wano. Are you sure? Akoma wakiri.
The devil finds you married, isn't it? To your wife or to your husband. And hasn't your wife have any other child? And you say, no, she doesn't. Really? Because isn't she from Chengera? Yeah, that's where the home is.
Check. Are you sure?
You sure? Because I thought she was not the one, but I think she's the one. That's my Ogie. Ask her whether she knows me. And if you say, I know Claire. Claire is my Ogie. I told you, I know her. I was wondering, how could I be wrong about her? But that's okay. If she reported only this, that's okay. So how are you? What has the enemy done?
Actually, kyamba akoze. Abanga akutte ejjinja ng'aliringa mupiira. N'aliteeka ku incline n'aliyiringisa. Ye n'alitandisa. Netandika okwetwala lyokka olw'omumentamu yalyo. Ye nga talinawo.
The enemy is in the business of sowing. I am telling you, be aware of those people who are sowing words in you. Omugambo. Be aware of those people who are sowing doubt. Because the devil is in the business of sowing. He's not in the business of fighting. No, he's in the business of nurturing. While your children are watching TV and are with smartphones, they are on TikTok, isn't it? Wherever they are, the devil is sowing.
Actually, Musumba obuvunanyizibwa tebuba na bwasowa after. I didn't say that.
He doesn't care. When he had just finished sowing, they asked the owner of the garden, "What shall we do? Can we weed these weeds out?" He said, "Don't dare." But from that point where someone has created that suspicion, he has turned into an investigator. He has sowed that kind of doubt. Now you look at your spouse differently. You are not even sure of who they are anymore, because someone sowed, they planted something in you, and you are not comfortable. You've started now checking their phone. You even go back to their village to ask. Because someone sold. Someone sold. When the devil knew that God was going to be successful in taking out the children of Israel out of Egypt in slavery of 400 years, do you know what he did? He convinced Egyptians to go with them.
Yes.
Can you believe that you had slaves? Okay? They are going to a land that you don't know, and you are an Egyptian, this is your country. And people start leaving, and you also say, I'm going with them.
You who isn't a slave.
You are not a slave, but you're going with slaves. Just because of the miracles that have happened here, I am living with these slaves. So where are you going? Who are you? An Egyptian. Where are you going? These guys know. Where are you living? My homeland. These are called the mixed multitude. Now listen to their name. They are called what? Mixed multitude. Mixed. It is a mixture
of the seed sown and the tear.
The devil knows that you guys are going, isn't it? But I have now to mix something in you. When they get into the wilderness, out of the 10 complaints of the Israelites, isn't it? 7 of them were started by these guys. The Egyptians. They also told because Moses is lying to you. We should go back. And this started. Read Numbers 11. Yes. It is always these Egyptians, okay, who has incited the slaves. Because slaves are easy to incite. Look at this. When God was going to deliver the slaves, isn't it? He didn't use a fellow slave. Are you guys following? Moses was not a slave. He was raised in the palace, went and reared the animals of his father-in-law. So Moses was not a slave. Because when you're a slave, you can't deliver your fellow slaves out of slavery. You think like them, isn't it? When they were leaving, the devil did not tempt slaves. No. He also installed people who were not slaves. He sold someone who is not a slave. So that when you get into the wilderness, because these slaves were actually even used to these hardships. Do you get the point? So those who are not used to these hardships should be part of these ones, so that they can incite these against their leader and against their God. The devil is always in the business of sowing. He is in the business of sowing. If you're okay, you and your wife, isn't it? The devil will sow a maid. He will bring a seed that looks like a maid and sow it into your house. And watch and see what that maid is going to do. Starting with your children. Then with you and your wife. The maid. The devil is in the business of sowing. He plants agents. He plants agents, and they are not easy to see. Why? Because they look like what is good. This is a neon. They just look exactly like what is right. So the devil is not business. So out of the 5 friends that you have, I am giving you now information. There is a neon. And he must be the best of all the 5 friends that you have. Unfortunately.
How would he influence you?
Yes. He is so good. The devil has sown something there. I wish I had time, but I would like to wind up with Matthew 22:10. Isn't what Matthew 22:10 says?
Matthew 22:10. Matthew 22.
And those servants went out into the streets and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. You remember that parable?
Yep.
Yeah. So first of all, there was a guest list.
Yes.
And all the guests turned
down
the invitation. Okay. Then after that, the owner of the wedding was stirred. So he said, you know what? You go out and call everyone. Okay? Good and what? Good and bad. That same thing like the garden, because we're discussing kingdom here. This parable is about the kingdom. Something like the garden and the tares. There are tares and there is wheat, good and bad, isn't it? So even these are sent on the streets to go and call good and bad. So, but when they come, okay, there is a wedding garment.
For whoever is invited.
Yes, for whoever is invited, there is a wedding garment. Unfortunately, this wedding garment is about the nature of righteousness that one has. So the tares could not fit into the garment, but they looked exactly like these ones. So when the guest came, the owner of the host, yes, the host came, he could tell the tares from the wheat, and he asked, how did you enter here? And the answer was a simple one. I was planted. So ladies and gentlemen, your religion might be a beautiful tare. It must be a beautiful, healthy tare, but not the wheat itself. Because in church they are both good and what? And bad. But not everyone has the garment of the righteousness of God alone. And God will tell on the harvest. This is why he says, let's now go back to the text. Okay? 26. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. So the weeds, you could not tell the tares until the plants came up and bore fruits. You couldn't tell. That's how bad it is. You will not tell who the enemy is, okay, until at the harvest time. Then they appear. And the servants of the householder came and said to him, Sir, okay, we did that. But he said to them, No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. The enemy, okay, is in the business of sowing, so that when you dare start dealing with the weeds right now, you will lose yourself. Exactly. If you don't understand that, if you don't fight the enemy at that stage, how do we fight him? By not sleeping. Because when did the enemy sow the weeds?
When men were sleeping.
When they were sleeping. Ladies and gentlemen, while you are sleeping, okay, your daughter in her room is talking to a certain man on phone. While you're sleeping, they are on phone, watching internet. They are on TV. While you're sleeping, they are reading magazines. While you're sleeping, they are adding a friend to their list. The devil is sowing. But by the time you face your child again, you don't know each other. And you're wondering whether she's your child.
She looks like, but she isn't.
But you're not even sure anymore. You don't know what she has become. Someone is sowing. Isn't it? Someone is sowing. Some parents have woken up to the fact where they can't fix anything about their children. While you're sleeping, someone is sowing seeds into the ears of your wife and your husband. Someone is sowing. And by the time you wake up in the morning, you'll be asking, where did the tears come from? And dealing with those tears would be at a very high cost. So today I came to tell you that the enemy is so. The enemy is not into the business of now breaking down things. No, the enemy is in the business of building. Buildings, opposition, building rebellion, structure. He's into construction.
He's here to possess.
Yes, he's here now to establish. He's creating everything systematic. This is why every weakness, every sin that we used to call sin, isn't it? It is now known as a right. A minority right. The minorities. These are the minorities. If you don't like it, okay, someone else likes it. So how does it affect you? Systematically, we are sowing. Because some of us do not have a problem. We don't have a problem with homosexuality if they are not evangelizing and recruiting. Because we the heterosexuals are not evangelizing and recruiting anyone.
By the way.
Isn't it? But for them, they are evangelizing and recruiting and teaching. Why do you have to teach an identity? And put it on the curriculum.
No, they claim that even us, we teach it because we have always been teaching families in being mother, father, stepmother, father, stepfather, mother, blended family.
But long before we even taught that, children at home played roles of father and dad. And we never taught those children at that age in kindergarten what sex is. Did we? We did. But they grew up to be actively sexual. This is just a promotion. It is a system. It is a system. So I came here to tell you that you need to go back and check your field. That field could be your business. Someone is sowing in your business. Someone is sowing. Someone is planting something in your business right now. And before you know it, it will appear at the harvest. Someone is planting something in your house, in your family. Someone is planting something, is sowing something into the heart and the mind of your spouse, your children. Someone is sowing. The devil is not into the business of breaking down things anymore. The devil is in the business of building up things. By the time you wake up in the morning, you are cornered and you can't do anything.